So for the future, now moving forward, you've been home a year. What are your future goals? Where do you see yourself in another year and the year after that? What are your plans now?
Well, after my return from my trip to Buffalo, I just kind of been looking at things and saying to myself, why create more difficulty for me to try to stay here in San Francisco, where the rent is high. I don't make that much money, as far as being able to afford a place to stay. Now, if I come across a bridge, I might be able to sustain it, but that would require me to change parole, and also still would create a situation where it's just going to be rough because you got to pay the lights, the gas, and all these different things that come with the living situation. So I just told myself, when I went back there, I was more or less
home. It
was home, and taxes $1,200 a year. The lights and the gas, and how much that was costing, and I'm like, why create a situation that it's going to be kind of hard if you stay here,
right? Where
if you go back there, you can go get a full-time job or whatever, and pay the the taxes and maintain the bills, which probably cost you maybe $200-300 a month, if that, and then the rest of the money can be used for maintenance on the house and try to bring the house back up to a certain point. And I said, you know what, I think it's plus being away for so long too.
Yeah, being away from family. Yeah,
because there was people I didn't get to see in the amount of time that I was there. So I already knew that I was going to be able to meet everybody. But it's just family. Just even though they got their particular things that you may not approve of or whatever, they're still family.
Yeah, and that's your people.
Exactly.
One of the most impactful things, and when I read the seerah, is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When people would come and take their shahada, then what would he do? Send them back to their people. To teach, to show them, to lead by example, to help the people. So, yeah,
and that's kind of like what I pretty much considered is like just the impact of me being in their presence. May be something that might be a guiding force for them to embrace Islam, and change their lives.
Right.
They see that, okay, I want what he's got. So and then I had an opportunity to visit one of the masjids, in the Wharf, the Muhammad's community, and I just was like, wow, it's not progressive here. It's kind of lacking. So maybe my little bit of socialization there, and maybe bring some Tayba teachings or whatever.
Yeah.
If they're,
maybe get back up on the pulpit.
No pulpit.
No sermons. No
pulpits.
We're gonna bring you out of retirement, Adeeb.
No pulpits.
So I have a question for you. So do you think it would be a good idea for Tayba to try to set something up in Buffalo, New York? Did you notice that, just talking to people and just seeing stuff, would that be something that may be needed in that community?
As I said, I didn't have really enough time to really, spread out and really talk to people. But from what I could see that there is a need for, some teachings. In being that, I've always had the concept of Tayba going global. That's always been, because it's one of the things that I've talked to yourself about. I said, man, this thing here could go global, and you pretty much have done, the things you moved from, the little start that you have, and now you have the office and, and all these different things that, okay, that's the initial beginning of, how things take place, where, it may not just be the Tayba Foundation, but you may have a big, office building, what I'm saying, where you got employees and, chairman of the board and all this.
That's the goal. That's the goal, inshallah, in the future.
We got the Buffalo chapter and the Atlanta chapter.
Exactly. And, Tayba has a long reach, where, you're influencing society itself, and a way of bringing, the Muslims, back on what we're supposed to be, or where we're supposed to be at, through knowledge. And that's where I've been. I've been on that type of thinking from the beginning. You know, when we sit down and talk to Yusef, and they'll say, man, this thing could go global, man. It could go global.
I don't know if you have more questions. I have one quick question for you. So you did mention there was struggles inside prison as a Muslim, and then outside this year you said that has his own, struggles. Now, what could the community, at least I'm talking specifically about the Muslim community, if they were to do one thing to alleviate or like to decrease this amount of struggles, like one thing while incarcerated to help the incarcerated, and one thing after they get released.
Well, one thing, as far as incarceration is concerned, is some connection. We don't have inside the institutions, a real connection. Is what's taking place with Issa right now. They have the ability to call. See, we didn't have all that. You couldn't just pick the phone up and call and get insight on particular situations, circumstances, as well as being prepared to leave the institution. To be able to be linked in certain things to help the transition period, and these things have been developed afterwards. I'm benefiting from some of it, but it's still being fully developed. Where before, it was non-existent. You just, try to find some transitional setting, get into that, and then, work from that point. What could happen after being released is what you think about doing right now. It's building these. This network of transition and the programs for brothers who are serious about what they want to do. It would relieve some of the stress, some of the strain. That your initial release, would because like for me, had I not gone to GEO, it would have probably been pretty rough. I complained about it, I used to complain about the program when I was in GEO. The person that was in charge, I always brought my complaints to him. I said, "What are you here for?" I'm here to complain to you. That's how I used to talk to him. I'm here to complain to you. I said, "What are you here for? You're supposed to be counseling me. When I'm gonna bring you a complaint, that's what I'm doing." He said, "All right, Thompson, you're doing good." That type of thing. He said, as a matter of fact, he said, you told me I was doing good. He said, just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing just fine in comparison to the other people that were there. So, had it not been for GEO, my being plugged into GEO and having that 6-month run, of, alhamdulillah, getting the job 3 weeks after I was out, that was phenomenal.
So the Muslim community, your advice to them would be that that there is a need for like the serious students of knowledge, the serious brothers who want to come back, give back to the community, that they need to support this, that they need to support brothers like yourself, because you will make a difference within the community. That's basically what you're...
Yeah, and it creates a network. Because one thing that I look at, some of the things that GEO was doing would be something that, that the Tayba Foundation could do. They did like community service. They would do, cleaning and those type of things, pick up trash and, those type of things. Where from the Tayba Foundation's perspective, you can create, visitations to different masjids with brothers who are formerly incarcerated, and the impact of, Tayba studies and stuff that had on them, and also, the perspective of, the young people looking and actually talking to someone who has done time, a phenomenal amount of time, and, how did you do it, and those type of questions. And that may be something that, may inspire them to not take the same direction that you took, and also, to educate themselves to be, more productive. If they're off on the wrong track, to be more productive, a more productive citizen.
So Tayba could fill that void of mentoring the youth, mentoring the youth in these masajid.
Exactly.
Is there anything else you would think? Anything else you think that the Tayba donors or supporters should know? What impact Tayba has on its students that it serves? Like, what would be one message, like the Tayba Foundation program, how impactful is it to the brothers who are receiving it while incarcerated?
Well, like I said, I've benefited greatly from the teachings from Tayba's support, and I mean, there needs to be more teachers if that's possible. More teachers like yourself to be, inside the institution. As a student / a person who can give this information. There needs to be more of that to take place, But the bottom line is that, without the Tayba Foundation, that would never happen. If it had not been, if Tayba Foundation or the Zaytuna had not been in place, I wouldn't be where I am today. And there's no telling where Yusef would be, because he was going through the same struggles that I was going through at the time. When I used to describe, the things that I was going through, he said, I went through the same thing. So our story was almost the same thing. It's like that with brothers who came through the institutions and looking for the knowledge base, the real, pure knowledge of Islam. That's what brothers had to go through to reach that point. And Tayba, being Tayba / Zaytuna, Tayba now, that's what it provided. It provided the opportunity to have teachings, constructive teachings, to where your concepts, your thinking, the context and everything else is there. You just have to have the wherewithal to want to strive down that path.
So like how we program in prison, programming where like our mind is set and we do everything like clockwork at a certain time. So basically Tayba has reprogrammed us and helped us, and basically from the time we got a hold of our very first book to the time that now that we're home, it's like Tayba has totally reprogrammed our mindset.
And another thing too is the benefit of knowledge. As they've always said, you've got time to do study while you're incarcerated. You got time to do this stuff, and I find very little time now. To really sit down and do the type of studying that I was doing when I was incarcerated. Because I have my books still, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like this, looking at my watch, and I did such a certain time, And instead of the hour and a half, whatever that I would spend prior to going to work when I was incarcerated, I can only spend maybe 15, 20 minutes, an hour at the most before I start. I gotta get on the bus. Okay. Sometimes that's a frustration in itself, because I'm like, man, there's those times when I could just sit down and study.
But it's kind of ironic that you miss the times when you can study, but you don't miss that situation.
Don't miss the situation. Exactly. And that's the phenomenon in it. It's like, so, the preacher, it's always been said, appreciate the time that you have to study, because when you get released, you're not going to have that time. And that is true. That is true.
MashaAllah. Thank you, Adeeb, for your time, brother. And thank you for all the insightful comments, the messages you have given us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
May Allah bless you with abundance of afiyah in this life and the next.